Welcome to Tabletop Gaming with Juice. First of all, I have some great news. I figured out why my camera does not always turn on with Google Plus Hangouts. So I should not be having any problems with that in the future. So I'm really happy about that. Second of all, this is a video response. Now, I don't know who started the chain. I made the mistake yesterday saying somebody started the chain and I was wrong. So I'm not even going to bother stating that. I will tell you, I saw Bash's video about fudging dice, and I saw DBJ's. I may have seen a couple others. I may have seen a couple others, but the DBJ's video is what made me go on to do this. Now, normally, I don't really have an opinion on fudging dice. I figure whatever works for your group and at your tables is fine. And excuse me, by the way, my throat's all swollen and I'm a little congested, so forgive me for that. But normally I say whatever works for your table and whatever. And I see a lot of people mentioning that, oh, you should never fudge dice. You should never do that because you're cheating. And you're only cheating if it's a game that you win or lose. That's like saying an improv person is cheating. You know, you're not cheating. And, it's a game. It's role-playing. I feel like it's a little both, but there is no winner or loser, so whatever. You're not cheating, plain and simple. You're providing an experience for a table, and that's what you're doing. So then I think Bash said something about a player should never fudge dice. A player shouldn't. And if a player does that in my games and I catch them, there's going to be a problem. I will, if I see them fudge that, I will fudge dice against them just to kind of make up for it. Seen that happen before where I've seen a player roll their dice, roll very poorly. I know what their bonuses were, and then they re-rolled a die. So I've seen it and I've done it. As for the fudging, how it's always, DBJ said, fudging in favor of a player is always okay with a player. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think there are some players who really don't want things fudged in their favor. For instance, at Encounters, I have a player who has outright told me that, which I have a tendency to roll really well somehow. The new D&D dice, I blame them. That came with the starter set. But so I've just kind of let the dice stand where they are anyway, which I normally do, so it's not a big deal. But there was a session or two in there where he got really frustrated. In the last session we played, another player got really frustrated with it because he was getting dropped a lot. But yeah, I think most players would actually want you to fudge it in their favor. I don't think a lot of people can deal with the loss of their character. I think they get too personally invested and forget that, hey, it's just a game. It's a story. And the thing I've said in videos before is death isn't final in an RPG. Just because your character dies doesn't mean that they're dead. And whether that means they were captured or kidnapped or knocked unconscious or whatever, that's fine. You can also create an adventure in the Underdark for them so that they can come back to life. You can also have them resurrected. You can also do all sorts of things. Reskin their character. It's somebody else just like them. Or who knows? There's so many things. Their essence can... whatever. There's so many different things you can do. So death isn't final. DBJ also mentioned that, a lot of DMs will say, hey, yeah, you killed the guy without having to roll damage. And I think that happens more when you're using minions. But I've been guilty, I think, before where the enemy had 2 hit points and the player did a good hit to get them down to that, and I've gave it to them. I've done that before. And I don't think that's, I mean, yeah, sure, you're kind of fudging the numbers. You're not fudging dice, but you're fudging the numbers. But I think it's you're doing it to make the scene better, whether it's, you know, giving this person who just dealt 20 damage a cinematic opportunity to describe their kill shot, or your, you know, something along those lines. I think that's fine. You know, so I don't think that's that bad. One of the things I was thinking about too, though, is if you're going to always fudge in favor of the players, why aren't you going to fudge in favor of the other side? You know, maybe you have a player at your table who's arrogant and cocky in real life, and it's kind of annoying to everybody else. So you got to set them in their place. Hey, they just got their butt kicked. Everyone else is fine, but not that guy. You know, why couldn't you do that if you're fudging rolls? Or, you know, it might be a little railroady, but maybe you want the players to get captured because that leads to the next part of your story. And frankly, it's the best way to get in your opinion, to get the players to that part of the story. So you have them get their butt kicks like a TPK and have them wake up as prisoners. You know, why not? What's wrong with that? You know, I mean, DBJ, you had mentioned The Hobbit. And in The Hobbit, for example, the movies, the dwarves get captured by the trolls. And you notice the battle's going on, and then it kind of cuts to the dwarves being kidnapped, basically. I think they actually surrendered for a reason, but you could have it just be, you guys are getting your butts kicked, and, you know, there's no chance, so boom, hey, let's just skip all dice rolls. Let's cut to you guys are captured. You know, and maybe you're taking the control out of it in that case of your players to run or something like that. So the next best solution is TPK, and oh wait, you just woke up and now you're being roasted over a fire, about to be eaten by some trolls. I think that's fine. I think it just comes down to your group. If you know your group would have a lot of problems with it, you probably shouldn't do it. Especially since there's always a chance for them to find out. My daughter's sneaking in here. And then I think if you're doing it to make the game more fun and add something to the game and story, then I think it's completely fine, and I encourage it. So it's ultimately what's best for your table. I don't do it a lot. And if I do, it's, you know, it is what it is. I've had my first session with WASD20, I kind of let some player rolls be fudged because he was killed in the first session, and I didn't want him to die in the first session. So I always feel bad too for players when they die, or well, not so much anymore. I used to. I kind of take a little bit of satisfaction with it now, but I used to feel guilty about it if they died. And one scenario that I think I would feel extremely guilty about is if I had a player, because I have 3 players in one of my at-home games who drive 45 minutes to game. I think I would feel terrible if in battle, the first battle or the first 20 minutes of the game, they die in combat. So those are some things that, when it comes to fudging rolls, I put some thought into. And I'm going to end this on one final thing, not related, but DBJ, Superman, Ohio State. Oh, man, you're so awesome. But those 2 things, I don't know. Just playing, man. Have a good one. Go Blue.